Welcome everybody to a look at my top 10 favourite physical releases of 2023. So we're in the new year now. Happy New Year everybody. And yeah, that means that I'm looking back at films that I bought over the course of the year. And yeah, fantastic year for Blu-ray and 4K releases, quite frankly. Had I must have bought well over 100 films during the year, and yeah, a lot of them have been great. I've not really been disappointed by much at all, to be honest. There's been a couple that have been a bit on the I'm not quite sure kind of spectrum kind of thing. But for the most part, yeah, I've enjoyed pretty much everything. So there's going to be three things that no, that's four. Three things that come into play when choosing my top 10: how much I enjoy the film, how the film is presented in terms of its physical aspects, box art, the physical box itself, and whatnot, and thirdly, how the film looks on the Blu-ray or the 4K. So, yeah, so for some honorable mentions before we get into the top 10 is going to be firstly the Warner Brothers Archive collection. These are just some of the ones that I got. Not the best presented in terms of the physical aspects. They're only on these small, cheap cases. They don't have reversible artwork, a booklet, or poster, or anything like that. There's very minimal extras on the disc. But the films themselves have been really, really enjoyable, with Prince of the City being my favourite of all of them. So, yeah, overall, a really, really good series of films. Then we got the likes of Cutthroat Island on 4K. Not a great film by any means, but the fact it's finally got a physical release, not just on Blu-ray but also 4K, means that yeah, that's worthwhile in its own right. I hate it when films aren't given a physical release and just left to rot in the doldrums. So yeah, and the steelbook case itself looks really rather nice, and the 4K is also really good. It's just really the lack of quality for the actual film that lets it down. Then we have one of the Studio Canal Cult Classics films, and that is Blazing Magnum, also known as Shadows in an Empty Room. Excellent film. Looks pretty good in terms of the presentation, but it is at the end of the day a fairly standard release. Yes, I think we got some like art cards or whatnot with it, but that's pretty much all we ever got in terms of the actual physical extras. But excellent film. Highly recommend it if you're into your 70s action films. And then we got a pair from Raro Video, who are currently being sold through Radiance Films, as they don't have a UK distribution technically themselves. So we had the likes of Gang War in Milan, which, yeah, another Umberto Lenzi film that is really rather good, and The Night of the Devils, my first ever film watched by Giorgio Ferroni, but yeah, a really, really good effort in both rights there. And then we have a bunch of Eureka releases, the likes of Beach of the War Gods, really rather great. My first 4K single disc release from Eureka, and that is Touch of Evil. Fantastic film noir, probably the last great one from that genre, with a fantastic cast. Then we got the Japanese film The Bullet Train, which partially inspired Speed, apparently. Yeah, really, really fun, disaster come action, come police procedural kind of film with a really, really good cast and some really rather charming miniatures. Then we had the Creeping Horror box set. Now, none of these films are, particularly excellent, but I love, 1930s, 1940s, black and white horror. And so, yeah, I really, really enjoyed all four of these films. And yeah, Eureka do excellent work with their, collections in these small, cases and whatnot. We've had plenty of them before. 2022 had a few that I really enjoyed, and yeah, I really rather enjoyed this one. One of their limited edition releases was The Big Gun Down. Now, this was actually one of the first films I actually reviewed on this channel in 2023, and yeah, excellent film throughout. Fantastic Western, and yeah, highly recommend getting this if you can still get your hands on it. And last few, we've got another indicator release, and that is in the form of Universal Noir #2. Now, I was anticipating that this would be a better box set, especially considering I'd already seen a couple of the films and really rather enjoyed them. But the other four, yeah, not quite up to standard in comparison to other noir box sets that we've had from Indicator. The Columbia series and even the first noir one from Universal was better. It mainly comes down to the fact that a couple of these just did not feel like enough of a noir. Lady on a Train, no, not really. Time Out of Mind, no, not really. Singapore was, A Woman's Vengeance was, and An Act of Murder and Lady Gambles were, but yeah, those first two kind of let the side down. They're not bad films by any means in their own respective genres, but I would not consider them a full-blown noir. So yeah, that's ultimately what lets that down, even though the physical presentation of that box set is excellent, as per usual from Indicator. Then my first Indicator 4K release was Cold Eyes of Fear, which yeah, is a really rather good giallo. It's not my favourite by any means, but it is a pretty solid one, and yeah, was not disappointed at all that I bought it. And then a new box set that we've pretty much only recently reviewed, and it is Savage Guns. Not my favourite of the spaghetti western box sets that our video released in 2023, but still a rather solid one. It's quite consistent in terms of, you know, the quality of the films. It's just no real high peaks like there were with another box set that we'll probably be looking at. Then finally from Radiance Films, The End of Civilization. Now, I was anticipating that this would enter my top 10, primarily because I adore the artwork that this has going on with it. I also adore the artwork that each of the individual film cases have going on with them as well. Also really like the back as well. But unfortunately, Gaga, Glory to the Heroes is the film that ultimately lets the side down. It's not a bad film by any means. There are certainly elements to it that I enjoyed, but I just didn't find the comedy element to work all that well. And when you know it is a comedy film, that is ultimately a flaw. So yeah, but War of the Worlds Next Century and Ubi Ubar, The End of Civilization were great. So yeah, it's 2/3 of a of a great box set, with 1/3 being just about good. So yeah, but excellent presentation, quite frankly, and yeah, that's why it's got an honourable mention. So in at number 10, we have From Vinegar Syndrome, Go-Go. Now, not a great film by any means, and certainly not the best of the monster films from the 50s or 60s, but physically, this looks excellent. I adore that artwork. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Really, really does. Vinegar Syndrome do excellent work with their slip covers. And then you've got the reverse on the side, on the back as well. And then, yeah, it's also a hard box, which again is always a plus point. Yes, it's a little on the flimsy side there, but the box itself is solid. And yeah, then the fact that it's also on 4K. So, you know, we've got a classic monster film on 4K, which I don't think we've had much of, to be honest. I'm still really struggling to think of another 50s or 60s monster film that is on 4K. So yeah, the fact that we've got that is really, really good. And yeah, it does do some things that are different to other films of the same kind of type. You look at you know all the other monster movies where you basically the monster always dies at the end. Not quite the case with this, and it's also got a nice little twist to it as well in terms of the monster itself. And yeah, I really, really enjoy that. So yeah, a perfectly solid monster film. It's not going to be the one that probably you know convinces people to watch the genre all that much, but it is still a perfectly solid one. And as far as British monster films go, it's definitely better than the likes of Conga. So yeah, there is that. And then in number 9, we have the 50s sci-fi film It Came From Outer Space. So yeah, again, like Gorgo, not a particularly great film, certainly not a great example of the sci-fi genre from the 50s. You know, you certainly have far better efforts like Invasion of the Body Snatchers and the day the Earth stood still and the like. But still, it is a fantastic presentation. Again, on 4K, came with a whole host of physical things. But we also got a really nice hard box with this lovely printed artwork, which also has that on the back. Not represented in the film, by the way, but still a really rather fantastic bit of artwork. And then you have the double-sided steelbook case, which has that artwork, which I really love. And then you got the original kind of poster on the back. Again, I really love it. And then, like I said, it's also on 4K. No Blu-ray with this, so weirdly enough, but regardless, it's going to look best on 4K outside of that. And yeah, we got a lot of physical extras as well. We got a bunch of art cards, well, a couple in fact, with 2 different kinds of posters on them. Oh no, there was another one. There was a third. Which again I like a lot. And then you got a, oh no, there was a fourth. I forget. Obviously, we can't really experience the 3D element of it, but we also got a bit of the film itself, which again I really really like. And then you also got a booklet as well to go with it, which has a bunch of posters and on-set photos and whatnot. So yeah, it's just a really, really well presented film. Again, like Gogo, not the best example of that kind of genre of film from its period, but still a perfectly solid effort, and yeah, one that is finally been given a proper, full on physical release. It would be nice to have more films from that period released, either on Blu-ray or 4K, because there are a whole host of films from that period that still haven't really been given much love in terms of physical releases. But at the end of the day, hopefully that's a step forward. From Studio Canal, we have another 4K release. This is a Steelbook edition, and it is Cross of Iron, probably one of the better anti-war war films, set in World War II. You're on the German side of things, and yeah, basically the leader of his platoon is getting really rather annoyed with the way that the war is going. He knows he's losing, and yet the people higher up than him merely want their medals and recognition more than anything else, no matter how many lives are cost. And yeah, just a superb action film as well. Got some of the best action from the 70s, and yeah, you got it on 4K, Blu-ray as well, and I think that's the special edition. Yeah, the special features as well, which there are plenty of. So yeah, a fantastic looking release and a fantastic film as well on in that right. So yeah, highly recommend that. Then from Eureka, we have Burning Paradise. Absolutely superbly dark, menacing, violent. Yeah, superbly well action choreographed scenes. And yeah, it's got a 2K restoration as well. And yeah, it's just a really rather superb effort. It just really feels like something different from, you know, is this Hong Kong? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, but it's a fantastic film. Not the the most in-depth presentation from Eureka. We only have a booklet and reversible artwork, but the film itself is just so great that it doesn't really matter that it's not been given like a hard box or anything like that. So yeah, highly recommend that if you have not seen it. And then from Indicator, the first of two, yeah, that I'm looking at in this top 10, and it is the Mexico Macabre box set. 4 films from Mexico, all in the horror genre, and yeah, fantastic artwork for the box itself. There's a whole host of extras for all 4 films. But yeah, what I liked most about this box set was the fact that 4 films and 3 of the 4 are really rather great. It's only the Brainiac that really lets the side down, but not by a massive margin. It's still a 3 out of 5 star film, but yeah, the other 3 certainly make up for it. So yeah, and as per usual with Indicator, we get a whole host of really rather good looking artwork on each case. So yeah, they just do a really really good job at making everything look excellent. To be honest, I've always liked these cardboard ones that they do. They do their Universal Noir box sets and Columbia Noir box sets and whatnot, and they just always look fantastic. And for the first time ever, I believe, Indicator actually provided some art cards with their box set. So, yeah, basically a bunch of different looking posters for each film, to be honest. So we had these, which I don't think they've done before. Granted, I've not bought everything that they ever released because I didn't come into them from the start of their tenure of releasing films, but certainly the first time I've ever come across art cards for a Indicator release. And then you've got the big old booklet that it's got going with it as well. And like I said, the box itself, hard box, nice looking artwork on the front, and yeah, just a really really cool release to be honest. And yeah, it just goes to show that Indicator can release a box set of foreign only films and make a success of it. I think that is their first fully foreign led box set. Again, I might be mistaken in that regard. And yeah, that was number, what was that? 10, 9, 8, that was 7. So in at sixth position, we have The Criminal Acts of Todd Slaughter. So 8 films in this, the most films I think I've ever bought from Indicator in one box set. And yeah, it's a glorious box set purely because it's giving these kind of films a new life, because only a couple of these I think were on streaming. Weirdly, Netflix of all things in the UK, but I there were no physical releases of these at all that I could find, not even DVD. So yeah, to get them all on Blu-ray in new restored order and in a really nice looking box set with gorgeous artwork on each of the boxes. Yeah, it's just a yeah fantastic release, quite frankly. And yes, not all of the films are great, but there are several there that I would give 4 out of 5, which is, better than some box sets. So, yeah, and it also, revealed myself to Todd Slaughter, who I hadn't heard of before. So yeah, I really like the artwork. I like its simplicity. I know I said it's beautiful, but beautiful can be in simplicity as well. It does in some regards just look like old posters or shots from the films, but yeah, really, really enjoyable films. All short as well. I think the longest was what, 71 minutes. Yeah, the longest was 71 minutes. So easy to consume films, but on the whole, generally entertaining and fun as well, despite some similarities between all 8 of them. So, yeah, nice booklet as well to go along with that. And in fifth position, I believe this is. Is this number 5? I seem to be missing one. Was that number 6 or was that number 5? I lose count easily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is number 4. Yes, this is number 4, and it is the first showing from Arrow Video, one of 2 in fact, and this is mainly based on its presentation in terms of the physical aspects, because yeah, it's a chunky boy and it's a great looking one, and it's the Arrow Video Enter the Video Store box set, which yeah, I just absolutely adore the presentation that they've given this, because they didn't have to do this big chunky box. They could have easily done it like an Arrow Video Indicator with something like this, but they went for this, and this makes it utterly unique in terms of my collection. Don't have anything box shaped like this, that's for sure, in terms of my physical collection. And yeah, I just love the artwork that it's got going on. So you got different characters from the films. You got the couple from Dolls. Um, I think that's also something from the Dungeon Master as well as that. And then you've got, can't quite remember who they are. That might be Arena actually. Yeah, that's Arena. And then looks like Dungeon Master again on the back. Some more Arena probably, and then you've got the Robot Jocks on the other side as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed these films, to be honest. I didn't really have any major issues with any of them. I'd only seen one before buying this, and that was Dolls. But yeah, we get 5 films in this box set. The first of which was The Dungeon Master, which I found to be huge fun, mainly because it's basically an anthology film. This all the characters basically given a bunch of tasks in different looking locales, different kind of tasks and the like, and yeah, it just keeps being fun throughout. And yeah, you also get a bunch of art cards with this and a poster. So yeah, it's just a really rather fun film, nothing complex or anything like that. And then we get Dolls, creepy ass dolls murdering people and whatnot. So yeah, the dolls themselves are creepy. I like what's his name? Hilary, Guy Rolfe. Yeah, Guy Rolfe. He's really, really good. He was in the Mr. Sardonicus film by William Castle, and then it's also got Hilary Mason in it, who is the psychic in Don't Look Now. So those 2 are really, really good, and yeah, even the child actor is pretty decent as well. But the dolls are the main selling point, and they are creepy as hell. Really good stop motion animation with them as well, considering the low budget that this had. I think Cellar Dweller is probably my least favorite of the 5, but I still found some elements to enjoy. including the creature design and the general production value that that guy has going for him. Then Arena, which I found oddly charming. I know I wasn't expecting much from it, but yeah, it's got really good world building, decent action, good characters, and it's a generally engrossing plot. But the pièce de résistance of this box set easily was Robot Jocks. Absolutely amazing production. Apparently, it cost like $10 million, so easily the most expensive film here. You probably combine the production budgets of the previous four together, and you still won't get to this amount. So, yeah, fantastic looking robots as well. Really good stop motion animation. The production, the general getting across the size of these robots is all well executed. The fight scenes between the robots are good as well, and yeah, so it's a generally a really rather good film, and I really enjoyed that. And then we also got a really nice booklet to go with it as well, which kind of looks like a magazine. Yeah, in fact, it's been called a magazine. I just forgot about that. So yeah, you have a bunch of write-ups as well, and it even looks like an advertisement on the back. So yeah, they've put a really good amount of effort into the physical presentation of the film, but at the end of the day, you've also got 5 films going for you, and they're all entertaining in their own right in certain regards. So yeah, I have no real qualms with that at all. Especially considering I wasn't really expecting each film to be great. I was expecting a couple of them to be, especially Dolls, because I'd already seen it, but I hadn't seen it in that new restoration. So yeah, I was expecting it to be decent, but wasn't expecting it to enjoy quite as much. But the physical presentation at the end of the day is what sold this film for me. So yeah, highly, highly recommend it if you can get your hands on it. I know it's probably the limited edition version with the booklet and the posters and art cards that might well have already sold out, but there should still be a standard edition of all 5 of those films. And then also from our video, the better of the spaghetti western box sets over Savage Guns is Blood Money. So yeah, excellent spaghetti western box set. To be honest, I think the only one that I didn't particularly care for was Metallo, although I still think I gave that 3.5 out of 5. But yeah, overall, really, really good series of films, starting with $10,000 Blood Money. Get that right. There we go. So yeah, that was pretty good. And then Vengeance is Mine, which was really rather great. I think this was my favourite of the bunch. Then we had Find a Place to Die and Metallo, Kill Him. Yeah, if you want my full thoughts on those films, then watch the reviews. But I do believe I'd enjoyed most of them, and then I also got a booklet to go alongside with it. So, yeah, just a consistent amount of films, to be honest. Whereas the Enter the Video Store box set had a little bit of a low point with the Cellar Dweller, and a little bit of an iffy start maybe with the Dungeon Master, because even though, pardon me, even though it had a really rather entertaining plot, it's barely a plot in terms of the general plot. It's just because it keeps changing up the scenes and the locales and whatnot that kept entertaining. Whereas with this, yeah, it's just really rather consistent across the board for the most part. So yeah, really, really solid box set, and again, I highly recommend it. It's better than Savage Guns, but Savage Guns itself is still a solid spaghetti western box set. And in at number 2, we have the Cosa Nostra box set. Yay! My favorite box set from Radiance Films. I know other people have really enjoyed the End of Civilization box set that I've already shown. World Noir Volume Number 1 has also gotten high scores from a lot of people, and I really did like that box set. But at the end of the day, I found the first film to not be quite enough of a film noir, which kind of spoils the whole general theme of the box set. Whereas this, yes, all 3 of these are mafia films in their own right. All 3 star Franco Nero, who is excellent as per usual. It's been kind of Franco Nero's year, to be honest, as yeah, he's also not only been in a major film in the likes of The Pope's Exorcist alongside Russell Crowe, but he was also given a 4K release in the form of Django. So yeah, and another 3 films with him. So yeah, and they were The Day of the Owl, which I gave 4.5 out of 5. Excellent film. The Case is Closed, Forget It, which I gave 4 out of 5. And then How to Kill a Judge, which I gave 4.5 out of 5. So extremely consistent. A little bit more so than the film noir, the noir box set, which I gave two of those films 4 out of 5 and one 4.5 out of 5. So basically the reverse of these three. And then you also got a really chunky booklet to go along with it, which again is decidedly more so than the film noir box set. And then you also got the really rather nice box artwork as well. Not quite as striking as the End of Civilization box set, but still a really, really good looking one. And I like the colour that they used as well. So, yeah, fantastic series of films there. And again, highly, highly recommend it. And then last, but certainly not least, my favourite release of the year, primarily because it is also my favourite pre 2023 film that I watched for the first time, and that is The Fall of Ico Castle. Excellent, excellent film. An epic in pretty much every kind of way. 159 minutes long, vast cast, which I think was accentuated by the inside of the artwork, was it? Yeah, or at least the booklet itself. So, yeah, it's quite clearly Japan's, basically like their disaster genre cast, but not a disaster genre obviously film. It's a samurai film, but you know what I mean. Disaster genre films from the 70s always had large casts of well-known actors, and even though I don't know them a lot, obviously they were well known in Japan themselves. So yeah, an absolutely superb film. 5 out of 5, easily my favorite film of 2023 that I hadn't seen before 2023. So yeah, and that's the main reason why it gets the top spot for my top 10 favorite films of favorite physical film releases of 2023. Also really like the new artwork that it's got going on as well. It also looks fantastic in its new 10 to 8p HD restoration from the original film negatives. Film elements undertaken by Toei themselves, and yeah, for a 159-minute film, it really does not outstay its welcome. Quite frankly, I just really, really enjoyed it, and yeah, the cast is brilliant. The cinematography is excellent, which is obviously helped by the restoration, and yeah, it's just an excellent film overall. So yeah, it's been overall a absolutely sensational year for film releases. Hopefully 2024 will keep up that kind of momentum, because we do have some that I know about that are coming out. I currently have 4 of the Warner Brother Archive Collection films that to watch that will release today. Um, we've also got the Coffin Joe box set from Arrow Video, which is like what 12, 13 films or something like that. Then hopefully Second Sight will get The Hitcher finally out on 4K, which I'm really, really looking forward to. It's easily one of my favourite films from the 80s, primarily because Rutger Hauer is just a sensational actor in his role. But yeah, who knows what else is going to come out? Quite frankly, we only really know up until March in terms of certain boutique labels. Eureka obviously announced a few films, but there's a couple here and there that I'm not overly interested in. So like with Radiance Films, I will be more precisely picking my film choices in terms of what I buy. Because for the most part, I bought pretty much everything that Eureka released. I think the only one I didn't buy was a 70s, I think it was martial arts, a samurai film. It was in blue. I can't remember the name of it particularly, but I rented it and I didn't much care for it, to be honest. So that's the only one that I think I missed out on. But for the most part, yeah, everything's been great from this year, and yeah, hopefully the ones that I pick from 2024 will just be as good, if not better. So yeah, nonetheless, thank you for watching. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the films that the releases I chose, as well as what your top 10 releases of 2023 would be as well, because there's been so many releases this year in 2023. Sorry, that yeah, you could basically you could pick completely different ones. For instance, my honorable mentions could easily be in somebody's top 10, and I would wholly understand why. But anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you're having a happy new year, and I hope 2024 is a good one for you. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.